Hey, folks, welcome to another edition of Broken Brains with your host, Bruce Parkman, sponsored by the Mac Parkman Foundation, where we look at the issue of repetitive brain trauma and what this issue, this condition is doing to the brains of our athletes, military, and kids in the form of repetitive head impacts for our athletes and repetitive blast exposure for our veterans. And why this is just so important for you to understand as a parent, a loved one, or a medical professional, because this is not trained in our medical population, yet it's the largest exposure and cause of mental illness on our children and veterans in this country. We have to do a better job. So on the show, we bring in all kinds of experts and researchers and patients and doctors and authors and folks that are out there leading the cause, like our gentleman today and his guest, so that you are informed and you can make decisions you need to protect those you love. Today on our show, another outstanding guest here, a good friend of mine, Bruce Bottorff, who's the board chair of the Manatee Police Activity League. Bruce was born and raised in Sarasota, Florida, and has been a lifelong advocate for youth development through sports and mentorship. A former Yale University football player, Bruce began playing tackle football at just 9 years old, a passion that shaped his understanding of teamwork, discipline, and leadership. For more than 9 years now, Bruce has served as the board chair of the Manatee Police Athletic League, PAL, where he continues to drive initiatives that promote safety, education, and community engagement for local youth. Under his leadership, Manatee Police Activity League has transitioned its traditional full-contact football program to NFL flag football, reflecting his strong commitment to player safety and evidence-based youth athletics. A firm believer in the growing body of research highlighting the risks of repetitive head impacts in children, Bruce advocates for delaying participation in full-contact sports till age 14. His mission is to ensure that young athletes can build skills, confidence, and lifelong fitness habits without compromising their long-term health. Bruce, welcome to the show, you warrior, you. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me, Bruce. A lot of nice things you said there. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks for giving them to us.
I'm just an average Joe, who loves sports and believes that sports can cure a lot of things in this country. A lot of things that we currently have now going on between the political divide and all the other BS. Most of us, we want to live our lives and we want to enjoy it. And through sports, we have a lot of fun.
Yes, sir. And what's amazing is, your story. I mean, you've played the sport. I mean, obviously. Tell us a little bit about, you started playing at 9. Was there even like a Pop Warner back then? I mean, you're my age. I didn't know you could play football at 9 years old back then.
Well, back then, back in the early 70s, in Sarasota, where I grew up, we had what we called Ringling Redskins. And it was pretty much, if you wanted to play good football, that's where you went and played good tackle football, was Ringling Redskins. Flag football at the time wasn't very popular, but certainly tackle football was. And for Ringling Redskins there in Sarasota, you had two basically divisions. You had a Braves division, which was 9 to 11 years old. And then you had the Warriors division, which was 12 and 13-year-olds. And at that time, the league, it was weight-based. So,
okay.
Yes. So 9 to 11-year-olds had, if I remember correctly, a weight of about 106 pounds was maximum weight. And you actually weighed in on Saturday mornings before the game every Saturday. If you didn't make weight, you didn't put the pads on and play. And then in the Warriors division, 12 and 13-year-olds, that weight was about 130, 135 pounds. I can tell you, Bruce, I got a lot of my grit and hard work because as a 9-year-old, back then I was called Husky. They didn't have kids that were obese. It was, you're big boy, you're Husky. Remember those words? Husky.
Yeah, I had to buy Husky shorts for my boy before he started sprouting, man. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
So at 9, I had no problem making the 106-pound weight. But 10 and 11, me and another young man that I played football with, we pretty much ran before practice and after practice every day and you had to shed about 15 to 20 pounds every year just to make the weight.
Wow.
So,
It's like
but that
wrestling.
just like wrestling, we didn't put the bags over us. It was too doggone hot out there running around, and I was lucky, and I was able to play for uh, the team I played for was coached by all police officers. And so that's where I really got my first involvement with any type of police athletic league, even though this was not hosted. This group, the New England Redskins, wasn't hosted by the police athletic league, but my team specifically was coached by all police officers, and that's because I think my grandfather uh, was a policeman in Sarasota and retired policeman for 30 some odd years. So um, the police officers knew who I was and said, "Yeah, we want him on our team. We're going to put him on. We're going to put him on the offensive line, and defensive line." So, being Husky at the time, I played offense and defense and loved it. Back then in the '70s, we never had any issue, or we didn't think about concussions. We didn't think about anything. It just was, hey, when you got a good pop on it, we just said, "Oh, you got your bell rung." You know,
Right.
you stand up there and you're like, whoa, okay, what the heck's going on here? You just got your bell rung. Shake it off and, take a couple of seconds and let's go. Let's get back in here and let's do it again.
Right.
Um, but but now that Reeling Redskins, it's still there. The site is still there, but now there's so many youth sports organizations around between Sarasota and Manatee County. Um, they're all over the place. So where it was just one central area when I grew up, we had great athletes, and if you're playing with really good athletes, and most of the people that came through that organization went in through and played high school, and a lot of us played college ball.
Wow. So, I mean, and so you were involved with police even way back then. I mean, it's amazing what I just know here in Florida, the police are so involved with youth, like these sheriff's houses where they take disadvantaged kids and they give them a loving home until they can get in the military or something. I mean, our police here are absolutely dedicated to our kids, and it's a real amazing and it's really heartwarming to see, the effort that they put in there.
They are
Um,
they are fantastic, and in our current sheriff in Manatee County, Ricky Wells, does a fantastic job. He supports us tremendously at the Police Athletic League, Manatee PAL, we call it. He's a huge supporter of ours, and he supplies us with deputies. We have two full time deputies and one full time civilian from the sheriff's office. So Ricky Wells, Sheriff Wells, provides us with those three individuals to help support programs that our group sponsors, and it's fantastic. And in him, along with Colonel Pat Casella, those two individuals, we couldn't do it without them.
yeah, that's amazing, the dedication. These are full-time employees that are dedicated to the youth of Manatee County, working with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. In all of our sports, whether it's basketball, whether it's football, whether it's baseball, those are our three main sports right now that we have. And like you said earlier at the beginning of the podcast, we no longer through Manatee PAL have contact tackle football. We have flag football. We've had it for coming up on 2 years now, and we're associated with the NFL Flag League, and we're getting off the ground. It's moving forward. It's a little struggle, like anything else, right? We've had tackle football at PAL. Uh, started at 8U, 10U, 12U, and 14U. So we had those divisions. And 8U was 7 and 8 year olds. 10U is 9 and 10 year olds, and 12U obviously 11 and 12, and 14 is 13, 14. But we've had that going since the late '90s. So for us as an organization to pivot like we did and decide that with the data, and again, I'm not a scientist. I'm an engineer. So I'm an electrical engineer out of school, and right now I do all disciplines. I do electrical, mechanical, and structural engineering for the work that I do, and I'm certified in all three. So that's I'm far from a scientist. I'm right there in the weeds. I'm where the rubber meets the road. And as the data has come out, and it's shown us that you know repetitive head trauma to our young kids is just not good for us. It's just not good for them. And while we may not see the impacts of that immediately, um, over time, the data shows that it could be in some kids you could see that immediate. Some kids you could see it 2 years later. Some kids you see it 5 years later. Some kids you see it 15 years later. Um, and for us as an organization to promote sports and promote um, the advantages of sport and what it does for our community and what it brings to our kids in their development, and not only athletically, but in their development academically, and how they um, basically um, communicate with one another. It's one thing to communicate in a sports environment. It's another thing to communicate whether you're in a school or you're just out at a civic event, etc. Um, it's important for these kids to know that we've got their back, and that with looking at this data, we felt that it's not our position for us to support contact football for kids that are younger than 14 years old, plain and simple.
Well, Bruce, that's an amazing. I mean, what you're talking about right now is evidence based approaches to decision making, right? And that, and when it comes down to sports, and it doesn't matter, pick your sports. We are emotional. It's how my. So I mean, football's a religion. I mean, we got it right, and it's where it's coming out. And talk to us about the data. I know that
Sure.
you and I had talked early on, and and I just introduced you to some of the studies out there. Was there other research that you did, studies out there that kind of led you to make this decision as the president of the PAL?
Sure. Appreciate that. Yes. So, besides the data that was brought to our attention through your organization, the Matt Parkman Foundation, which is fantastic. Besides that, there's a plethora, and hate to use that word, a lot of us, but there's a great deal amount, but there's a plethora of
A
information.
lot.
Yes, there's a lot of information that's out there and available. It's just whether or not you want to believe it. And again, I'm an engineer, so not a scientist, but as an engineer, I look at data every day, and data doesn't lie. Now, certainly you can, there's people say, well, you can manipulate data, you can do this, you can sure you can. That's why you need to make sure that you do your research and you look through and you look at it and say, listen, this makes sense. And hey, here's what we're seeing. All the the fundamental pieces of what certain kids are going through, what and I hate to use this word, but postmortem, certain things that they've shown um, for those that haven't made it, that the kids that we've lost, the young men that we've lost, the young women that we've lost, the young people that we've lost, um, and the ability for us to go in after that fact and do some more studies, and the technology that's available to us. Shoot, we didn't have this technology 35 years ago, Bruce, right?
Right.
I
Yep.
mean, I made an example last time you and I were talking. Was it's kind of like seat belts. You and I
Yep.
grew up. What the hell is a seatbelt? It's in a car. We know what's it here for?
That's the
What
thing
the
that
hell do I
pokes you in
need
the
it?
butt.
Exactly. But again, right? Data comes out, more and more data comes out, and it shows that hey, seatbelts save lives. So guess what? There's not a time that any one of us get in the car and it's just a habit. Put the seatbelt on. Hey, everybody got their seatbelt on? Okay, let's go. That's ultimately that's where this is going to go. I mean, it has no choice. I mean, data is data. And, you know, I love football. My son's 14, just started playing tackle football. Okay. And I try to tell him that, tackle football is not flag football. Football is a controlled, violent sport. And if you want to be a good football player, you have to play violent. I mean, it's plain and simple, but it's controlled aggression, controlled violence. And I don't use that word in a derogatory sense, but that's just what it is. It's physical, it's demanding. And like any, in that type of sport, if you want to be good at it, you better be ready to be violent. And, um, and with that, there's repercussions, there's injuries that happen and things of that nature. We look and we watch the NFL, and um, they actually have every game, they have a group of people that are watching every player that's out on that field, and if they don't see something right, they call down, and that individual player is pulled off the field regardless if they want to or not. And the NFL is there to make money, and let's be honest, right? And if they have a product and it's making money, for them to pull that product off the field, it's important. And my grandfather, who was a smart man, I love him to death, God rest his soul, he's looking down on us, but he told me something a long time ago that I take near and dear. If you want to follow the truth, follow the money. Plain and simple. And sorry, Bruce, go ahead.
No, you keep going.
So with that, I look at, okay, NFL, they're doing it. They understand the importance, and these are grown men. Now we've got, kids, and we all know kids, kids want to be out there. They want to show, mom and dad or grandma and grandpa or their buddies how tough they are, et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes they just don't know when to stop. And we have to be there. We have to be the stewards to help them and prepare them and protect them. Now, I'm not saying we're going to coddle them, this and that, et cetera. All we're doing is saying, hey, you know what? You're just a little too young to get out there and bang heads. You can still be athletic. You can still get out there and you can still play your flag football. You can still play your soccer. You're not going to head a ball. That's going to be illegal. All these different things these rules that were coming up are here to protect our kids. And then when it's time, when we're developed, when we're at the age of, on average 14, some could be 16, some could be 12, but an average age of 14, right now, that's what the data says. Maybe in 10 years, the data says, no, it's 16. I'm a firm believer, Bruce, when I hear people say, well, you know what, if my kid's not going to start playing tackle football and he's a great athlete and that's his way out to, help, get him and his family out of wherever they are to play sports. And if he doesn't start playing, this sport at 10 or 12, he's going to be behind. I hate to say it, but I call it bullshit. That's wrong.
It is.
That is absolutely wrong. I mean, let's be clear. A lot of these leagues nowadays and this and that, because there's so many of them. There's a lot of just volunteer coaches and volunteer this and volunteer that, and until they get into high school and they start getting even more serious about it and really getting good coaching, they're not losing anything. Be out there, be active, play multiple sports, do all these things, etc. Get your agility. There's all kinds of things: baseball, soccer, basketball, volleyball. I mean, there's all kinds of sports. And of course, we live in paradise here in Florida. We can play sports all year round outside. Yes, and at night, and not be frozen. So, right. I mean, let's be realistic. It's the parents. It's an education. But like anything else, Bruce, it's like trying to teach people to drive in a roundabout. Some people just don't get it. They're never going to get it. Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's okay. That's quite all right. But you know what? The majority of us, we look at the data, we look at it, we understand that, this is really what's best for our kids, because it's not something that you can see. It's not a bruise you can see. It's not a cut. It's not a broken arm. It's not this. When you start dealing with the brain and you're dealing with those functions, there's things, you can't see it. It's kind of like when I did electrical engineering. I can't, you don't see electricity. You sure as hell feel it, but you don't see it. You know, lightning, you can say, but outside of that. So
Yeah.
those are kind of analogies. Those are the things. So based upon that data, and talking with the individuals, and believe me, like I said, I started playing at 9 years old. I loved it. I get my bell rung many a time. Okay. And, not to say that I've had some, trauma, brain trauma, who knows? Um, they've always told me that, some people I know always said that my mama just dropped me on my head too many times. But, um, you know,
It could have been that football.
could have been. But, going back again, you know, we have data. It shows what it shows. And if we choose to ignore it, that's true ignorance. We're not going to be ignorant. We're going to be here. We're here to support our kids because, Bruce, as you and I get older, we're going to need our kids and our community to help take care of us and help
Heck
take
yeah.
care of our community when we're not able to do it. So
It's funny. It's funny. I talk to a lot of parents. They're like, "Well, my kid needs to start playing. This is way out." I go, "Well, if that boy gets his bell rung and he don't make it, or he ends up working at a gas station," I said, "That's your meal ticket, man. That kid's supposed to take care of you. Why wouldn't you want a doctor or an engineer, right?" But your position, Bruce. I mean, gosh, if we could just find more men and women like you that they're whose priority are the children. Like we run into these leagues all the time, and it's about wins and losses, right? It's all about, it's about, making money, right? It's about my league's better than your league. We want your kids here. It's about everything but the kids. And that's the point that you just made, is that sports is not supposed to hurt you. Sports is supposed to be, there's so much we learn from team sports, whether
it's a
it's
vehicle.
contact, it is a vehicle. I mean, you played football, I played rugby. You played in college, I played semi-pro, and I still talk to my best friends are my rugby players, for the most part. I got a couple Army guys, but my buddies are my rugby buddies. I mean, I'm still on a chat string with them. We haven't played in about 4 or 5 years. It's like we haven't, we talk all the time. And that's that level of camaraderie, that passion, the teamwork, the commitment, everything you talked about. That's the priority, along with the kids' health. And so tell us, when you announced your decision, how was the reception from the parents, or the PAL itself?
Um, to be honest, once we announced and once we as a board decided this is the direction we're going to go, um, there was a majority of our PAL football families that weren't very happy with us. To be honest, they just weren't happy, and I understand, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. Um, and I know that our I love Sheriff Wells to death, and Colonel Pacasella. Both of those gentlemen are fantastic. They support us greatly. Um, but it was difficult for the sheriff's office to swallow that pill for our decision to get away from contact tackle football, because that's what we've had for 3 decades.
Yeah.
You know, um, but again, um, it was a decision by the board, and it wasn't one individual. It was the majority of the board at the time, and at that time we had, I don't know, 9 or 11 members, and I believe it was, if it wasn't unanimous, it was very close, and
Wow.
they all understood. Um, and these people that are on the board, they're from all walks of life. We have lawyers, we have sales associates, we have executives, engineer. We have all kinds of folks, realtors, etc., that were on the board at the time, and because that's what we want. We want a whole rounded group, and it's not a dictatorship. So when we announced it, it was tough pill to swallow for, I would certainly, a majority of our families. Um, but I had some communications, and I spoke for those that wanted to speak with me one on one. I spoke with them. I spoke as a group, and just let them know that for their kids' best interest, in our opinion, for the data it shows, this is how we're going to be moving forward. And the the PAL, our PAL group, we were called the Jaguars for football. Nothing to do with Jacksonville, but still called the Jaguars. And um, while we had a good group of folks that came in and were playing with our flag football, we also have a good amount of kids that continue to play tackle football, contact tackle football, for the Jaguars, but outside the PAL league for a individual league that was that was brought up. And then other kids kind of scattered around and played from, went over and played for the, whether it was the Wildcats or the Titans or, other leagues locally. Um, but um, but we looked at it, Bruce, was not only the best, we looked at it the best for our kids, and we have to be stewards, like I said earlier, for our kids. We have to look out for them um, the best that we can. But we also looked at if we bring flag football in, we can bring a great deal more people, more children in, because that opens it up to our girls flag football. And in high school, girls flag football is getting, if it hasn't already, it's getting very big. It's getting very popular. And they're getting college scholarships now for girls flag football to go play in college.
I didn't know that.
It's
Wow. That's a
unbelievable.
whole nother path to get to
It's
school.
another whole path, another whole path. And as you know, the Olympics, we're going to have flag football in the Olympics coming up in 28, right?
Yep. Amen.
So, I mean, it's a whole nother avenue. I think it's going to be a whole nother way for kids to not only continue to play, but if they don't want to play the tackle contact football, they'll, I think that at some point in time down the road here, we're going to have flag football in high school for boys and girls, and we're going to have it in colleges. It's
Wow.
just a
I mean,
matter it's just a matter of time. Look, I mean, if you're gonna have it in the Olympics, it's already showing,
it's gonna come.
and
Yeah.
it's gonna
Like,
come. If anybody's ever seen now, it's on ESPN now, in the summers. I mean, it's a big to do, where they're playing at Disney World, the Wild World of Sports, they'll play there, they'll play different places. I mean, it's gonna get big. It continues to grow at a rapid rate. And we at PAL chose the NFL flag. Obviously, the brand, it's a fantastic brand in our opinion,
yep.
but we like the rules, we like the regulations, and we like the way that it was played, where you could not only, throw and run. So we liked all of that and how they laid it out. I think they have a very good product. There's a few products around here in our area, Under Armour and NFL. And we just, we're looking forward to ours to grow even more and more and more, especially if I can put a plug in,
Plug away,
especially,
man.
eh,
Plug
especially,
away.
especially as the Police Athletic League of Manatee County, we are fundraising for our new home. We lost our home a few years ago um, when unfortunately at the time the school board took our property back over and it was purchased by another entity. And while there's still some education at our property, we are no longer there. We were there for 3 decades. We're kind of homeless now. We're playing football, flag football. We're playing our basketball. We're playing our baseball. We're utilizing, whatever we can utilize between the boys and girls clubs, some of the high school gyms, etc., for our basketball, and then several different baseball parks for baseball, and then flag football, different Lincoln Park and GT Bray and a few other places. But we're trying to raise $14.5 million for a brand new facility that's going to be within a quarter mile of our old facility in the heart of the city of Bradenton to support the kids that our mission is to support. And it's going to have 3 indoor basketball courts. It's going to have an outdoor artificial full-length football field to support lacrosse, flag football, and soccer. Our indoor basketball courts are going to support, obviously, our biggest program, which is basketball for Manatee PAL. That's our biggest platform, sports platform. And we'll also have volleyball in there and maybe a little bit indoor soccer, but full concession. And then besides all that, the facility is going to be able to support education. So
Hmm.
not only sports, but education. So our goal for Manatee PAL, like we had said earlier, was to develop our children in our community, provide them a vehicle for sports that will also help support education of our same kids. So our ultimate goal being that all of our sports to be free, and for them to be free, for anybody to participate, those kids have to give back us time for tutoring, which will be free. We're going to
Hmm.
provide tutoring for all of our kids that come in. So ages 6 to 18. Free tutoring, free life skills. We're going to be developing life skills training for all of our kids. And that's life skills mostly for our older kids. Kind of like when you and I grew up, we had home economics, right?
I used
Right?
to
Remember
burn
that?
that cake.
All the different things, that, back in the day in the 70s and 80s, home economics, but you don't have that anymore.
All right.
Reading, writing, arithmetic. So a lot of these kids come out, they don't understand credit. They understand all these kind of things, especially with, when you and I grew up, there was no such thing as a cell phone. The only thing we had was a rotary phone. You give a kid a rotary phone today and they're like, what the heck is this? How do I call somebody? They're pushing buttons like there's no buttons. You gotta rotate it. Come on, man. Um, so, so, so our plan for Manatee PAL is we're fundraising for those dollars to build the facility. The city of Bradenton is leasing us the entire property that we're going to have our new PAL facility on. A 99-year lease, $1 a year. Can't beat it, right?
Wow.
It's going to be part of the city of Bradenton's new park development that's around Lecom Park in conjunction with the Pittsburgh Pirates. So that whole area around um, from 13th and Bradenton Avenue West all the way up to 17th, and then over, I believe it's the 20th or 21st where Lecom Park is, and over to Rogers Gardens. That whole area is going to be basically encompassing a sports complex, and
I
that's going to
wonder
be the heart of PAL.
I wonder if we could template that across Florida. I mean, to be working with the city and investing in kids like that. Tell us a little bit about who are the children that you support? I mean, I don't think these are
Okay.
kids from way out there on
Well,
the west side of town.
well, I mean, let's be realistic. In our area, you know, while we're city, we're not really, a true inner city. Our inner city is not like, Chicago,
Right.
LA, Philadelphia, those areas. No, it's not that, but it is inner city kids. It's kids, um, that are struggling on the economic level, and the families, they're getting by, they're hardworking. Um, but the mom and dads are working out there. The grandma and grandpas are even working out there. Grandma and grandpas are taking care of the kids while the parents are working. All these, so we pretty much support. Our goal is pretty much anywhere from I-75 to 75th Street,
Wow. Yeah. Big piece.
from
Nice
east to
big chunk.
west. Okay. And then from Palmetto area down south to, let's just call it 53rd, Pride Park area.
Mm.
It's a big area to pull from. Obviously, we get a good amount of our kids are within a mile to a mile and a half radius of, let's just call it 13th Ave and First Street. If that's your point there, that's where the old PAL facility was, right there on the corner of
Yeah.
13th Ave and First Street. From as the center of your circle, a mile and a half radius outside of that, maybe up to 2 miles. That's where we're going to pull majority of our kids from, because a lot of the kids are riding their bikes to us. They're walking to us.
Right.
They don't have the ability, or they're getting picked up. Our basketball program being as great as it has been for so many years, um, because of Deputy Ralph Bryant and Deputy Francine Houston. Those two they know more about basketball than I ever think I could ever know about football. Um, and so, the basketball program is really what, most people know PAL for. Um, and, um, we, those kids in that area, um, uh, you know, if you go out to where Mixon is, I think that's 24th or 26th Street East. Um, if you go from 26th Street East to, let's call it 26th Street West in Bradenton, and then I say from Palmetto down south to Pride Park, um, that's really in that square area. That's 99.9% of our kids.
And it's all
And
severely disadvantaged. I mean, it's
it,
hub
it, it
zone.
is.
It is a very challenged part of town. It's so great that
It
you
is. It is. And, I was very lucky. When I grew up in the 70s, in early 80s, when I went into college, I was ignorant. I didn't know any better. I was happy with a baseball or a football in my hand and a bicycle I could ride. And other than that, and food on my plate, I could care less. And I
right,
was just as ignorant as ignorant could be, you know, didn't look at, hey, we don't have this or we don't have that. Hey, my parents worked hard to make sure that I didn't want anything. I wasn't wanting for anything, excuse me. And, I wasn't. My brother and I mean, we hung out, we played, we went to school, did what our teachers told us to do, learned as much as we could. We had good guidance. And some of these kids that we deal with, they don't have good guidance, Bruce.
right.
You know, for one reason or another, it is what it is. And what I enjoy about being a volunteer there is I want to give these kids as much opportunity as I had when I grew up.
Amen.
I want to educate them as much as possible. I want to, be there for them, to answer questions, to show them, to give them, to be a leader for them and say, listen, you do X, do A, B, and C, you're going to get to D, E, and F. Okay.
Yep.
But you got to stay steady and steadfast. And, in PAL, if anybody's been, if anyone has ever been to a Manatee PAL event, they'll understand real quick that there's a certain way that you have to hold yourself when you come to one of our events. You're not going to be disruptive. You're not going to be disrespectful. And, you've got to hold yourself accountable. And if you're not
Hmm.
going to be any one of those, then guess what? We're going to ask you to leave fairly quickly. We
Wow.
don't play around. We don't deal with those things. And I think that when the kids see that and that gets becoming of the culture that they hold, um, our kids become very successful. They do well in high school, then they go to college and they do well in college, or they go do well in a tech school, or they do well in out in construction, or whatever they choose to do. They do very well because they have a good solid foundation. And that's our goal, is to give them that solid foundation. And
Yeah.
again, it all sorry, Bruce, it
Nope.
all starts, it sounds like I'm a sales guy and I talk a lot, but I am an engineer, and I usually pretty quiet, but I'm passionate about this. This is one of the things that I know that once I retire from doing the work that I do now, I'm going to want to be around these kids and help support these kids until the day I can't. Or maybe
Uh,
the day they kick me out, one of the two, but I hope they don't kick me out.
no, no, but Bruce, I mean, this whole focus on the children, right? I mean, giving them not only just an outlet in sports, but helping them through life, right? I mean, just giving them those skills that they need, how to read a clock. I mean, I got a book here. It was my son's. It was called Life Lab, and he'd come home, and I'm like, "Hey, so what'd you learn in Life Lab?" He said, "We had to learn how to read a clock, like with hands." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "How'd that go?" He goes, "Nobody knew how to read a clock with hands." He said it was crazy. So every time he'd come back from Life Lab, "Oh, tell me what you learned today," right? Whatever it was, like checkbooks, whatever. And but beyond the ignorance that sometimes kids have just in our digital culture today, to give them that framework, that foundation of skills, respect, discipline, and mentorship, right? A lot of these children just don't have good mentors. As you say, it is what it is. But have being around police officers and men and women who have made something from themselves, a lot of them coming from the same background, is so important. And you're my hat is so off to you. And I have to get more involved. And just as soon as I get rid of this company, I am all
Oh,
in.
no, it's a,
And
hey, you're doing great. You're doing great things, Bruce. And
nah,
and one of the things that we look at is, you know, it's today's kids and today's day and age is, completely different than what we grew up in, right? And our
yeah,
day and age when we grew up was completely different from our parents.
yeah.
And, with the advent of the cell phones and the digital age and everything else, it's great information, but like anything else, it's how you read that information, how you take it in and what you do with it. And those are the things that that we teach our kids is, when you and I grew up, Bruce, our mentors always says, "Oh, don't always believe everything you read in the newspaper." Right? Don't always
Yeah.
believe everything you read here, do your fact checking, do your research, etc. Now the information's so easy to get. And I tell my 14-year-old son is that, hey, just because it comes across your phone doesn't mean it's true. Okay.
Oh, what? No, everything that's on the internet isn't true?
you know, do your research, do your due diligence, there's never anything that's there's never anything for free, right? There's always a catch at
Yeah.
times,
It's too good
etc.
to be true. It's too
It's
good
too
to
good
be
to be
true.
true. The free cheese, the mouse and the free cheese, all that kind of stuff. So, what we really want, and we stay away from the political spectrum 100%.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't care. We don't care what your political affiliation is when you come in here. We're all people. That's how we see them. And we're going to help you in sports. We're going to help you develop. We're going to help you in your education. We're going to help you develop. We're going to help you in your life skills. We're going to help you develop. What we want individuals that are truly not only team players, but leaders. And then those individuals then take it upon themselves to determine what they want to believe and what they want to do. But we have to give them that. We want to give them that good foundation. We give them that good foundation. I feel so much better that when they go out there and they get in front of something that's either good or bad, they're going to know what to do, how to do it, and they're going to represent our community well.
So where do we take this, Bruce? I mean, we've got the first police activity league in the United
Mhm.
States of America advocating for children first, their brain health first, and putting together a program that I think is probably the first brain safe approach to sports for the police activity league. And I do worry because they are the police and, they're a checkbook to a lot of lawyers, right? So I think a lot of what you're doing right now is not only absolutely, I mean, just so inspiring for our children. It also helps the city, a little bit there too. But how do we expand this, or do you have any thoughts on how you
Sure.
could take, or what you've done? Of course, I'm part of that as well if I can. How do
so
we how do we move this to the next level and get some more PALs to take a look at this?
so once every year we have a state PAL um, meeting, for lack of a better term. I don't know if they call it a meeting and they get together, et cetera. Uh, and it's usually in December of every year. And, since we lost our home, we've been, like I said, we've been a little bit down and out, but we're making it work. And we're gonna have a home here in just a few years. And I think that once we have our home, when we have a good home base, and we have that PAL athletic uh, NFL football league going on, we have our basketball going on, we have our baseball going on, and we show how successful it is and how successful it's become. And we can show the numbers that, okay, when we had tackle football, we had, X number of teams in each division, and in each team we had X number of kids, and we were supporting, 225 kids during tackle football. Now with our flag football, we're supporting 800 kids.
Right,
Okay. And oh, by the way, the data is the amount of data is not going to go down. It's only going to go up.
right.
We're only going to
No,
get, and not only is the data going to go up, but our ability to take that data and sift it through all of these algorithms and look at all the different things and come up with, okay, hey, we know for a fact this is what's causing this is what's causing that. This is beyond a shadow of a doubt. We know that. We know a majority of it now, but it's going to become even more, because in the next 10 years, our scientists and our tools for identifying these things and, well, yeah, I guess just identifying it are going to become so much more on a day-to-day daily use basis that um, it's going to be overwhelmingly, in my opinion, that, you know what, um, just like seatbelts, you know what, it's going to be a rarity, if at all, that we're going to have head contact sports for kids under 14 years old.
I
I be,
absolutely believe you. Yeah, I
I
think
mean,
you're right, Bruce, and I think the sooner we can, talk to other organizations about this approach, the data centric approach. Like, there's a reason for this. It's not just, a guy that's lost his kid, or somebody that doesn't believe in contact sports. I mean, this is data driven, an evidential approach.
well, I mean, look at
To
me. I mean, I'm, it took me a long time to calm myself down after college, because from the time I was 9 until the time I was 21, um, because I was, back in the day, shoot, when we were, when I went to college, I just turned 18 years old. So until the time I was 21, that's all I knew is hey, I want to play football and I want to be violent. I want to be out there in this, and have, just get out there and bang heads and let's go. Um, and it took some time to get that kind of, that testosterone driven, for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
not rage, but controlled rage, controlled anger, etc. Just to, calm down and say, hey, you know what? That was a different life. Now I'm starting my, my career life
Mm.
outside of that. And so if I can look at it, in my opinion, and and convince myself based upon the data, then, anybody that looks at it, that has an open mind, and looks at, is gonna come to the same conclusion, Bruce. And you know, it's horrible that what's happened to you and your family. Okay, that being said, um, it's not like you said, just because somebody lost a kid, this and that. This is what the data says. This is what it shows. And we're not talking one instance. We're not talking two instances. We're talking about data. Thousands of data points. It's. I mean, it's there. And for somebody like myself in the profession that deals with data, deals with, hey, how do you come up with designs? Well, I come up with this design. This is what we have to do because this is where the data shows this is what's going to be best.
Mm.
And and there you go. There you have it. I mean, it's kind of that simple, but it's not that simple. When you really look at it and say, well, uh, uh, you know, don't take what I say, as for granted or as base. Do your research and go out there and look and go to these seminars that like you host, Bruce, and just talk to people and see. But there's also a common sense piece to it too, Bruce, because there's a lot of parents that I know, those parents that said, you know what, thank you, thank you for moving over to flag football, because I didn't want to be the one to tell my kid, you know what, I don't want you playing contact sports at this age because I don't think it's good for you.
Right.
And,
And
Bruce,
yep.
we respect you. And, they come to me and say, Bruce, we respect you. You're, a leader in our organization in PAL. And if you truly believe this is best for our kids, we're right there with you.
Well, we need some more of that, Bruce. I mean, we need a lot more of that going forward. But this is an awesome start. What you have done, with you and your board, I think is going to absolutely lead children's sports to a position where it needs to be, because in the end, the data doesn't lie, and unfortunately wasn't aware of the data that existed to make better decisions for my son, and now we know, and what you're doing is flat out amazing. So as we close, tell us about the Manatee PAL. I think you got a fundraiser coming up. Talk about
Okay.
how people find you. I mean, and then we got the big fundraiser to get the home. So go ahead and pimp it for a bit there before we close out, man. And really
Well,
appreciate everything you're doing.
I appreciate that. I'm far from a sales guy. So, but yes. So this Monday, November 3rd, we have our annual PAL, Manatee PAL golf tournament. It's at the Ritz Carlton. It's been there now. I think this is the 9th year that we've had it at the Ritz-Carlton. And what a great course. I mean, pristine. Golfers come out, and it's truly one of the area's pristine golfing events. The gifts are fantastic. The offerings are great. You have lunch, you have dinner, you have a great time. It's for a great cause, and this is our biggest fundraiser of the year by far. Um, we look at it to be realistic. We take in probably $25,000 to $35,000 we net out of it, which is fantastic. It allows us to keep our costs down and help scholarship a lot of our kids for flag football, for basketball, for baseball, etc. Um, Outside of that, we do a few other, we have some fish fries, we have some simple things, etc. Seafood sales. We sell, sometimes we sell donuts. Sometimes we have car washes. We have all kinds of little things like that. But the golf is the big thing. And to get a contact, our website is manateepal.org, and it comes up there. Our address right now is the main sheriff's office address off of 301 Boulevard there, across from the old, I guess, the old Bradenton Mall, which really isn't much anymore. Um, but hopefully, like I said, in a couple of years, we'll have our new facility. That's our goal. Looks like we will be, and we're working hard with the school board for their support, which I believe that we're going to get, because we're also going to be able to do some things with Soar and Four and things. Because what happens is when these kids come in, or parents come with these and they bring their kids to practice, there's always usually a little younger brother or younger sister
Yep.
that's with them, that's 3, 4 years old, 5 years old, just not old enough yet to get into the sports side of the. And we want to be able to do things for them. We're going to have activities for them, educational activities for those kids at our site while the older kids are playing sports. So, and then we're going to have at the new facility, we're going to have adult education besides free tutoring and for our kids in elementary, middle school, and high school.
Wow.
We're gonna bring programs in to help adults, to help these kids, to help these kids' parents, you know, to maybe get themselves some more education to maybe improve their lifestyle in whatever
Amen,
area that
man.
they're looking for. So, that's us. Uh, you know, we uh, we pride ourselves in really looking after the kids. Uh, we Nobody makes a salary. We're all volunteers. Um, and like I said earlier, our goal is that every single program that we have at PAL, once we open up our new facility, every single program is absolutely FREE, free.
Well, Bruce, I mean, I cannot thank you enough for your dedication to our kids, and not just here. I mean, but leading the way and making a hard decision to do, what the evidence says is the right thing, and to stick with that decision. And I can already see the success that you're doing, and I think it's amazing that you and the board have taken this move, and we want to make sure that it's that people know about it, that there is a reason to right now, based on the science, to move ahead. So thank you so much to you, the Manatee PAL, for making that decision and for what you're doing for our kids. And we look forward to working with you far into the future until I can't get out of bed, because this is a great mission, man. It's a great mission, and you
It is.
exemplify what volunteerism should be in this country. And I thank you for it, sir. Cannot
Well,
thank
no,
you.
and likewise, it goes right back to you, Bruce. And like I said when I first met you, you got to have a name, and in order to have that name, we need to make sure that we have a responsibility to our family and our community.
Amen. And you're rocking those Xbox headphones, by the way,
Yeah,
man.
my son gets them back later today. So
Cool beans, man. Well, everybody, man, another great show of Broken Brains, man. Cannot thank Bruce Bottorff and the Manatee PAL for coming on board. Remember, as you get out there, keep focused on our foundation, what we're doing. We have the podcast. We've got the Army-Navy event coming up on December 13th. We've got Fuel, the band, rock concert, all you can eat, all you can drink, VIP tickets. Remember, 100% of the money's raised goes towards veterans' mental health and suicide prevention, the largest threat to our veteran population out there. Don't forget our book is for free. It's on the website. Download it. New version's coming out in about 2 months as soon as I get my head out of my other business and I'll be able to focus on it. We got the HeadSafe app on on Google Store and Apple Store. And guess what I just got from Australia? My first subcussive tracking mouth guard. So I'm looking for some reasons to hit my head a little bit to kind of see what this thing can do. So if you got any ideas, throw them out to us. So like us, subscribe to us, push us out there. Really thank you all. And for you, those of you with children, remember you only got one melon. Take care of it. This is Bruce Parkman signing out for the Mac Parkman Foundation. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks.